Welcome back to a new video. As you can see by the title, I'm going to be breaking down a beat that I think would sound sick on CLB. It just dropped, you already know I had to do a video on it, so I'm going to show you guys the beat now and then we'll get into the breakdown. Let's get into it. So I started off with these keys from my analog lab bank. The preset is called Fairy Tale Pluck, and I just played out these chords which sound like this. For the effects, I started off with an EQ, just cut some lows out and some of these mid-range frequencies. Then I added a good hertz low-high just to cut some high end off. And finally a shaper box to make it pulse, but I brought the mix down because I didn't want it to be too present. I still wanted the attack from the keys. Next, I wanted to add some more keys on top just to kind of fill it out and make it more of a deep sound. So I found these keys from Prod by Jack's new analog lab bank, which is coming out soon. Shout out to Jack for sending me in advance. I appreciate you. And yeah, it sounds like this. These chords are the same, but I strummed them a little bit more just to kind of give it a bit of variation from the first set of keys we used. And also this chord is inverted slightly different. It's the same chord, but just in its kind of natural inversion. I added quite a few effects to this one. So I started with a half time, just on the regular half and 2 times preset. But as you can see, I brought the mix down to around about half because I wanted some low end, but I also wanted some of the high end still in there as well. After that, I added a light reverb with quite a big delay. Then a J37 from Waves with the metallic drum loop preset. I've used this quite a lot. I just really like the texture it gives. An EQ to cut some lows and some highs. And a Valhalla delay, quite light again, but just to give it a bit more depth and fill some space. So together, both of the keys sound like this. Next, I wanted to start giving the beat a bounce, so I added this perk loop. Again, it's from my new bundle that's coming out soon. Drake's beats are always known for being very simple and spaced out and leaving lots of room for him to do his thing on it. I just wanted to add one more element in the little space between the chords just to fill that out a little bit, and I thought what would be better than to add a vocal. So I went into my bundle and found this vocal loop that I thought would fit really well. I put it in the right key and chopped it a little bit just so it fits in the certain spaces that I wanted it to, and it sounds like this. I felt like the sample was kind of done at this point. I didn't want to add any more, so I just moved straight onto the drums. As usual, I started with the snare. I just grabbed this one from my kit and did this simple pattern. Since I already had a perk loop in there, which was giving a lot of bounce, I didn't want to do too much with the hi-hats, so I just did this very, very simple pattern. And I followed that up with another more percussive hi-hat. Next, I wanted to add some more ambient percussion, so I found this bell tom kind of sound. So I put that in the beat, layering it on top of every other snare, and I also tuned it so it kind of fits with the chords and kind of has like a melodic progression as it goes through the loop. The final bit of percussion is this ambient perk on the very last snare. After that, I moved on to the 808. I actually used 2 in this beat. The first one is here, and then I did another one just for a little bit of variety and do something different. The second 808 is more like a sub, which sounds like this. The sub has a decapitator on. I brought the mix down a little bit, but I just wanted to give it a little bit more high end. At this point, I thought the beat was sounding really good and I didn't really want to add too much extra, but I felt like it still needed something else. On CLB, there's quite a few like switch ups in songs and different sections and stuff, so I wanted to do that. For this B section, maybe it could be a bridge or something like that. I changed the chord progression. I did quite a long one. As you can see, it goes over 16 bars. I just started off with this piano, which sounds like this. As you can see, it's more of a sad R&B style progression. The chords are a lot bigger. There's lots of ninth chords and, you know, lots of different notes in them, which is going to help you build that emotional sound. So what I did with that piano is run it through my shallow water pedal. I used a low pass filter on the pedal to give it a watered out effect. Depending on the velocity, some of the notes can cut through that filter a bit more easily, so it gives a kind of unique modulated kind of sound. For the effects on that, I started off with a compressor. I wanted to really tighten the sound up, so I used the transient control preset and just messed around with the input and output until it sounded how I wanted it to. Then I did quite a heavy reverb, mixed on 32%, and the decay is quite long as well. I wanted it to be really big and kind of washed out. And finally, some EQ. I cut a lot of the lows out because it was just kind of these annoying frequencies. Lowered some mids and boosted some of the highs just to give it a little bit more presence. And with those effects, it sounds like this. The only thing I added to that is a synth bass, which sounds like this. In terms of structuring the beat, I started off with the keys at the beginning and the vocals, no drums or percussion or anything like that. Then I moved into the section with all the drums and the percussion and stuff like that. This is kind of the main area of the beat. That transitions into the different chord progression with the piano and the synth bass. The way I transitioned is pretty simple. I've just taken out the last chord, so it's just the perc loop and the vocal. And then finally, I did one small variation for the drums where I just did a two-step hi-hat pattern. I brought the velocities down a little bit just to give it a bit more swing, and that sounds like this. Okay, that's today's video. That's my attempt at a beat that I think would sound sick on CLB. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. And subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next one.